Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the listening audience. My name is Maury Selby, MD.
And my name is Giorgio Malouf. And we have a very special guest in the studio today. We're streaming from more cameras than I've ever seen in this studio. She's usually behind the camera, but today she's going to be in front of it. And by that, we're talking 6 or 7 of them. We're streaming onto her YouTube channel. We're talking about Shawn Cooper in the flesh.
Yes.
And she's joining us today, coming from Brooklyn, originally from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And you've been through a lot. So first of all, thank you for coming.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. And this is going to be an uplifting show, ladies and gentlemen. You know, we're coming off of sort of talking about the most terrible time of the year, talking about the flu, but this is going to be an uplifting program as Shawn Cooper is going to share her experience with us. So welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let's get started. Let's get into the meat of it. Tell us a little bit about how your life got flipped, turned upside down before you moved up to New York City.
God, am I really the Fresh Prince?
Yeah, you really are. The freshest.
I came here, I got a job offer last year, like literally the day after I had like a devastating breakup. I got a job offer, and one of the reasons that had happened was because they wanted me to move to New York, and then I get a job offer the next day to move to New York, and I'm just like, is this a joke? Like, this can't possibly be happening. And, you know, one thing led to another. I wound up at AMI, I wound up at American Media for initially when I got here. So, and that pretty much just meant to take that job, I had to like throw everything in a backpack and move overnight.
So let's tell people a little bit about what you do for those who still don't know the phenom that is Shawn Cooper. Who is Shawn Cooper?
Oh man, God, I do so much.
I know
now.
it's a like, tough question. I know it's not easy.
It's just that I don't even know. I don't think I know where to start. Mainly, I was a photographer. I started getting into video. Just kind of like vlogging, medical treatment, and so now it's more that I'm into video now that I am an actual photographer. Sometimes I actually forget that I actually started off as a photographer, can take photos now because it doesn't move, so I can't sit still. You know what I mean?
Okay,
so it doesn't move for me anymore.
So when did you start on this race to try and become one of the top videographers? How did you get your first camera? Because I know the story from Instagram, but I want people to know about this.
I had owned a motorcycle shop first, and I had medical insurance for small businesses. Like there's just no way you can't afford it. So I'd actually taken just kind of like a 9-to-5 job just to get the medical benefits to go get this thing in my neck checked out.
What thing?
I had a lump in the right side of my neck that it wasn't visible. It didn't like give me any hassles swallowing or anything. But depending how I would stretch my neck, it would like it became visible. So and I just kind of
how big are we talking?
The way I saw it, to me it looked like maybe the size of a marble, but apparently it was actually the size of a golf ball. So it was a lot bigger than it had looked, and I guess after going through testing till they had done, so many ultrasounds and whatever they had done, they actually said when they pulled them out, they're actually blocking the view of other ones that were embedded underneath them. Wow. So they thought they were only going to go in and take out like 3 or 4 of them at the most, and it ended up being like 7.
So these lumps, I'm assuming then were tumors.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so Maurice, what are the sizes usually that we would start to worry about something, or is there no kind of consideration for that? Is it just that if there is a lump, we need to examine it immediately?
Well, the thing is, really, aside from the size being very variable, depending on the etiology, right? There can be different types of growths, especially in the neck region. You have a lot of important structures there. And you also have lymph nodes there, and those can become enlarged from time to time for various reasons. So you might have an infection. You might have other growths, such as the thyroid, for instance. So something called goiter can become enlarged, and that could be a sign of either your thyroid being overactive or kind of underreactive, either hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism. Many different things can arise. But one thing that really is important is not just the size, but how fast something is growing there, right? So You might have a lymph node that's enlarged, or you might have a growth there, a benign tumor usually, and they don't grow very, very quickly. But something that just appeared, and it sounded like this kind of came out of nowhere.
The thing is, when I was younger, oh man, this is gonna open up a can of worms. I had gotten into some trouble and ended up getting locked up, and that's a whole other issue. During that time there, I'd gotten sick. It was just like 2 or 3 days. They checked me out, and they were like, "Oh, there's a little cyst, in the base of your neck." And anyway, they were like, "Oh, that's just a cyst. It'll go away. Don't even worry about it." So I never worried about it ever again. And then fast forward 10 years, they're like, "There's this thing in there," and I was like, "I'm an idiot."
And this was the same mass? Okay.
Yeah, so by just doing the math, I was about 19, 20 when they, and they said it was just like so small. It was like nothing to even worry about. So I was like, if that's remotely when it might have started, like I have no idea how long I've had this, because by the time they took it out, they were like, this metastasized and went everywhere. So this is a very big mess. I was like, okay, so do I have to worry about dying? And pause. I was like, okay, stop talking. You know what I mean? Let me process this. What do I need to do? You know what I mean? Like, what's next?
So, really the thing is just sort of knowing your body, because as I said, there are many times where people have growths like this. Sometimes they're benign cysts. They can even be things like pilonidal cysts. Usually they're on the back. Some individuals have things called lipomas, which are these fat-filled growths. Benign tumors are basically a bunch of fat cells that typically can be excised with a routine surgical procedure. But that's the thing, is just sort of, at least you are aware that this was there, right? And I guess you were able to give that information to your clinicians, where they can then pick up and sort of do additional investigation.
Yeah, they at this point, he was like, well, this is what we'll do. We'll pull it all out, and then we'll nuke you, and you're going to get fried. So it was like, okay.
Got it. So what was your official diagnosis? Do you recall?
Stage 4 papillary carcinoma. I guess apparently it just normally doesn't get that far, because most people catch it right away. So there weren't a whole lot of comparison cases to what my doctor, this so-called specialist in Pennsylvania, had so much to compare it to. He was just like, this is the worst I've ever seen this particular stuff get to. He was like, we usually see it right away. I was like, yeah, I kind of avoided the doctors for a long time. You know what I mean? I'm busy. I don't have time.
So it was stage 3 already the first time that you ever saw it?
Yeah. Well, there was like conflicting, because my endocrinologist said one thing, and then the ENT said something else. So there was a conflicting opinion on the actual diagnosis, whether it was like 3 or 4.
Got you.
Yeah.
So then what happened to your life? I mean, you had this motorcycle shop. You didn't have the insurance from there. You had it from your normal job, your 9 to 5. And so what happened when you first felt that lump and went to physicians, and they told you that they're going to have this surgery and give you chemotherapy?
Yeah, they actually scheduled it like immediately. So by the time I left the office, I had to go back, to work and, kind of clue everybody at work in. Wow. And when I got back to my job, there was already a replacement in my office. Like, the district manager had come up with a regional manager, and then the person who was replacing me. And I was like, what's going on here? And they were like, in light of your recent medical diagnosis, like, you'll still be able to carry on the company health benefits through Cobra. And they hand me all these pamphlets and all this information.
And Cobra is like this $900 continuation package. It's not like it's like, oh, nice, I'm gonna get to keep my insurance benefits.
Yeah, no, I think whatever it was just something astronomical. It cost so much. So they were like, you can carry on with this. And I was like, am I losing my job? Like, what's going on here? And, oh, you wore a hat to work. I was like, this is a joke. This is a joke. Are you serious? Like, I was like, you just gave me an award 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
You know what I mean? They knew before I did what was going on with my medical treatment. And because the entire corporation was switching health providers at the new year, anybody with a pre-existing condition was going to cost them some kind of higher benefit rate, because we were, however that works for something like that. Like, I didn't know anything about it. But I didn't find out that information until an attorney had contacted me. It was like, I don't think this is legal. This is technically discrimination for you having a handicap or a disability, because he's like, your cancer diagnosis would disable anybody. So,
wow. So But I mean,
we settled out of court. We ended up settling out of court. And then
I was gonna say that from what I know from you so far, you don't take no for an answer, and you don't get defeated. Nothing is standing in your way.
No.
So what did you do?
When we went to court, it was just that was like a small triumph because like till everything had came out in the hearing examiner was like, this is the most pathetic excuse I've ever heard to try to get out of your responsibility to your employee. He was like, you have X amount of time to pay her X amount, and then they cut a check. So I turned around and bought camera equipment.
Okay,
I was like,
and then you started that whole segment of your new chapter.
Yeah, I worked in a lot of nightclubs, and everybody would always kind of do things to like host a party for me, whether it was like a birthday party or something. If a DJ was coming to town, I wasn't technically a club promoter, but I was known amongst all the clubs that I was at all the time.
Okay,
so if I was coming, there was guaranteed your table section's probably going to sell out. So it just carried off from there, and then I started shooting the DJs. So figured it out along the way, and then YouTube picked up a lot of my video influence.
Okay, awesome. So then, but that wasn't the end of the story with your fight with your health, right? Like that was just the beginning. So tell us a little bit what happened next.
Well, that was that initial diagnosis that was followed by like the first surgery and then radiation. And then the radiation was unsuccessful. There was still whatever they measured left over. So they just considered like, we'll keep monitoring you. I have like regular scans and blood work and got to go see them every couple weeks. So I just kind of stay under a microscope for the rest of my life. So that's kind of inconvenient. But that started a series of, I think I'm at like 11 surgeries now.
11 if you count surgeries.
If you count the ones on the eyes, that would be 10 and 11.
Okay, so let's start
9 on the neck.
So 9 on the neck. Mm-hmm. So what's happening in these 9 surgeries? Is it that the first one wasn't working? Or
anytime a biopsy had come back with any kind of irregular cells that weren't benign, or even if they had come back with like low whatever they're measuring. They would just take them out, or once they start growing, past like so many millimeters or however they measure, it's like, all right, this is obviously gonna, we know where these are going. Let's just get them out now, you know. So at this point, they were more focused on trying to keep it contained from getting into like my chest cavity. So because most of the lymph nodes in my neck are gone now.
So they're completely removed
most
at this
of them,
point.
Yeah.
Wow.
I forget how many they said. You have like 30 some on this side and 36 on this side, and then I'm like,
you have
first surgery wiped out 18 out of 36 on one side, 3 out of 4, and then like 32 out of 36 on the other side wiped me out. So, and then I've had subsequent surgeries to go in and keep digging them out. So I don't even know what I got left. There's a lot of staples in there. I know that. There's more staples than there are lymph nodes.
So, Maurice, why don't you explain what a lymph node is and what their normal function would be?
And so basically, lymph nodes in general are sort of our immune, we could look at these as immune processing centers, right? So we're exposed to different pathogens, whether it be viral particles, which right now I'm under the influence of one, so I wouldn't be surprised if my lymph nodes are a little bit enlarged as my body is trying to respond to this infection. But that's typically one of the major function of your lymph nodes is to basically help your body fight infections. So infections, even harmful substances that might pass through the body, your immune system basically processes bacterial agents, viral particles, even certain fungal organisms you might be exposed to, and basically helps your body fight the infection. Now, one thing, though, that we know for sure is that with many cancers, the cells actually spread through the body, through the lymphatic system. And that's why this is, one of the reasons why whenever an individual has a cancer diagnosis, this is one of the first places we look for metastases or spread of the cancer. And a lot of times what will happen is when you have surgery for any sort of cancerous mass to be removed, they'll dissect or take out the local lymph nodes because that is typically the point where they'll spread first. And so, there are tests that we can do to sort of figure out whether there has been spread to lymph nodes, but a lot of times we'll take them out kind of like a preemptive strike, take them out before there is spread in order to really just stop the spread of the cancer.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you don't know for sure until they send them off for pathology testing where they actually slice the lymph nodes up, look at them under a microscope, and then you'll determine whether or not there's been spread to.
Yeah, usually mine come back as like a scorecard. It's like, all right, we had 3 out of 5 over here and 1 out of 4. So it's a little better, but not as bad.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, man.
How did that feel? I mean, I imagine that must be really frustrating to just have it not end. Like
I'm getting frustrated now when it slows me down and I gotta like take off to go do something. So it's like I'm scheduled to be somewhere else that's more important than coming over and getting shot up with a bunch of chemicals. So it's like, but if I don't go do this, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna be sick for the next 6 months of my life or something crazy.
Right.
You know, it's like,
and that's a real dilemma that everybody. I don't think we really talk about that in medicine. You know, we basically sort of mandate that, hey, you have to show up for this appointment, or you have to go for this stress test, you have to go and get these vaccinations, but not taking into account some of the other things that have to happen for an individual to survive, right? Like in order to pay your bills, including your medical bills, you have to go and handle your obligations.
yeah, I gotta go to work, and you wanna give me a bunch of, you wanna give me drugs that are gonna make me like not be able to, concentrate on my job. So it's like they would give me like muscle relaxers. I was like, is there a way we could do this without medications? Like some of these, I obviously am gonna be on like Synthroid for the rest of my life. It's like, okay, what happens when I'm like senile and can't remember to take this in the morning? I'm gonna wind up killing myself when I'm 60 if I make it that long, So it's like.
So what is the name of that medication?
It's just like regular Synthroid. But like I don't have a thyroid at all anymore. So if I skip or miss a dosage, it's a little,
So it's a synthetic thyroid medication, right? To get the hormones that you would normally produce from your thyroid,
right?
Through a pharmacological or a pill, basically.
Yeah. So I guess I have like a set metabolism for the rest of my life.
Wow.
So it's like,
So, but more on an emotional level, I'm just wondering, like,
I get frustrated now, and it's like before it was just like, whatever, it was like, but now it's like I'm getting tired of repeating myself,
right?
Like I'm getting tired of going through all this stuff.
How long does it take after every surgery? What does that process normally go like?
I mean, it depends. The last one was real bad because I had like a disc fusion. I had a 2-level disc fusion at the same time, and they dislocated my shoulder. So when I came out of surgery, I was like beat up real bad. So I might as well have just dropped off a building. So that one took a lot longer to recover from because obviously I had like bolts put in my neck. But usually like for like lymph node extraction, or they find a tumor or something that looks a little funny, I've been able to like even do outpatient surgery in a couple of those instances.
Meaning it's outside of the surgery room.
Yeah, go in,
hospital.
check in, I wake up, somebody drives me home, and I'm rested off on the couch.
Or basically it's done where you don't have to be admitted to the hospital, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been a few times, and then I've had a lot of complications. Like, I don't do well on pain medication. It just upsets my stomach, so I just don't take it. And I don't even know what they gave me because I was just taking what I was supposed to take, and at that point I didn't have time to Google. I was in like that much pain. But I remember I'd gotten sick to my stomach, was throwing up, and it was like so hard that like the actual physical heaving, I couldn't stop, and I felt this like snap going on in my chest. And here what had happened is the thoracic duct in my body had burst open, and then that just started pumping like whatever lymphatic fluid all through my neck. So a couple hours later, my girlfriend's just like, oh my God, you're choking, and she wakes me up, and my neck, I'll have to show you the pictures there, and I look like one of the clumps. So I just like posted pictures on social media, was like making fun of myself, but then it's like now all of a sudden my heart's failing and there's all these other problems going on. It's like, I thought I had thyroid cancer. Like, what's the rest of this crap going? Like, stop trying to fix me. Leave me alone.
Wow. Yeah, no, I hear you.
So like now it's just more of a, I don't have time for this. So I'm getting pissed, mad.
I mean, I would be too. That's. I mean, and you're busier than I am, which is hard for me to say to people. But you're busier than I am, and any little distraction or break, it feels like everything just piles up. So I can't even imagine on your end.
It does.
You know, you're worrying and stressing about that while you're dealing with the stress of the medical condition.
Yep. I literally sat, it was like earlier today, I was sitting there after I made a cup of coffee, and I was like, I just paused for 10 minutes, and I was like, I feel paralyzed. Like, I cannot move. I was like, what do I have to do today? I was like, there is so much going on right now that it's like the second I leave for 2 hours, it spirals into 2 days behind.
Wow.
So it's like, oh man. And it's literally just because I'm not tethered to a computer for that long because I can, get this done or something. And
Yeah.
So
So
that's why
then
it's like I've been a hermit. I'm like, this is not healthy for me either to be, cooped up in front of a computer. So.
well, hopefully we can make sure that that's not the case. Ladies and gentlemen, if we need to start a GoFundMe, a Patreon. We need to make sure that
that's why
Shawn's
I started
able
YouTube.
to
That's what kind of started me into YouTube because I was actually chronicling, my treatment. And then it just started into other things. I didn't know what I was doing because I would just slap the footage together with like music or whatever that was relevant. And everything was just inside jokes. But then people started watching it online and then we'd be in clubs and the club owners would be like, hey, could you guys come up? We have a table for you. I'm like, you guys are watching my YouTube? Okay. Like,
why not?
So it started from there, and then I just figured out how to do it.
So these surgeries, I don't mean to dwell on this, but I'm just wondering, is this the kind of thing where it's an open surgery? Is it laparoscopic where they're able to do it robotically?
I usually see like an ENT, and they go in. They had went in the same scar, like the same incision site a couple times, and that seemed to be more harmful than anything because it was making the scar tissue like get real dense and hard in there, and it was like getting real painful. So. But no, I mean, I guess maybe they could do it with a robot, but
okay, yeah, I was just wondering.
I mean, it's always been like an actual surgeon that's done it.
And then the recovery time is generally.
I mean, like I said, the last recovery on the last one I had that took months, but typically just to have like a couple lymph nodes out, I mean, I can be back up. I'll probably be out 2 days later. So.
Got you.
I'm not gonna sit still.
2 days.
I have to be unconscious.
Maurice, what's a typical? I mean, I can't ask about normal things because Shawn is extraordinary. But I was just wondering, what would for an average human being, what would this recovery time probably look like?
It's difficult to say, Georgia. Everybody is sort of different. Each case is different, depending on your comorbid illnesses. So if you have other medical conditions, the age of the individual, it really doesn't. There's no way to really answer that particular question. But one thing, I guess, what I wanted to ask was who is sort of marshaling you through this process, right? Because it's a lot of information to manage. Who is sort of answering your questions, really, who is your advocate? I guess as
myself. You know what? The only thing that made me actually start advocating for myself, because most people don't think that doctors are humans too, that they're just as capable of reading a typo and screwing up something by just making a mistake that day. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until those videos that another doctor had seen. I had something called syringomyelia too, and they never told me until after I had the disc fusion. And there was a video of the doctor telling me about it, and another doctor from like Miami or something had just saw it online, was like, "This woman's lying to you." And he called the doctor and made a very big stink. And the next thing you know, I'm banned from bringing cameras in there. And what it was is that I guess that condition, any trauma to the spinal cord, my neck, is going to potentially increase the, probability that could cause more complications, and that's serious. That's like paralysis if that goes bad. So they didn't tell me about it. They just let me go in and get a 2-level disc fusion and get a bunch of bolts put in my spine. So it's like, you realize you could have crippled me.
Wow.
And oh no, here's this, take this other medication, this is what's going to cure the headaches, and then I go blind. It's like,
wow.
Yeah, so,
wait.
Yeah, that's how that snowballed. That's how that snowballed.
I'm laughing not because it's actually funny, but it's just
it's just unreal that it actually happens to one person, let alone, and
Yeah. So what? So as a videographer, your eyes seem just a little bit important to your functionality.
Yeah. That was the only time I actually really got scared.
Yeah. So what medication did they give you, and did they warn you that this was a possible side effect?
No, they gave me Topamax. Like, why is a thyroid cancer patient being put on Topamax? Okay, but me being an idiot and trusting my doctors to know more of what's going on, blindly trusting them. No pun intended, I swear. But anyway, I just took it, and all they told me was that it might make carbonated beverages taste funny. So, okay, beer and soda, I don't drink it anyway, so I was fine. But I did notice something with the taste was a little funny. And then next thing you know, there's this spot in my eye. So I called and stop taking it, it'll go away. But stop taking it, don't take it anymore. They would just, emphasis, don't take it anymore. I was like, okay, what's going on? Okay, hey, man, this spot hasn't gone away. Now it's getting bigger, and I can't see through it at all, you know. So they sent me to an ophthalmologist, and he was like, how old are you? He was like, you got the eyes of like a, 105-year-old woman. I was like,
Wow.
I was like, I had 20/20 vision the last time I was in here. He was like, what were you doing? I was like, nothing.
Wow.
Like, doctor's orders is what I was doing. So
what is Topamax normally given for, Mo?
So it could be used for anti-seizure medications, or basically an anti-epileptic medication. I'm really not sure, and you have a complicated case. I'm not sure what they were trying to treat in your instance. But the thing is, sort of, unfortunately, it sounds like you weren't really informed on why they were choosing this medication.
Because of the syringomyelia. Because, and that was the other weird thing that I thought
But
was
what did
really,
they say exactly to you? Did
well,
they
because
explain?
that incident where I told you the doctor had given me my syringomyelia diagnosis on camera, she referred me then to the neurologist because they said that's who had to treat this because it's she said it was near my brain stem or something. So she sent me she had to send me a referral to the neurologist, and the neurologist prescribed me that for the syringomyelia. And then once I started looking up after the damage to my eye was already done, I started looking it up, and it's like causes glaucoma, causes birth defects, causes vision problems. I was like, and then next thing you know, I'm editing all my clients' photos on a TV screen because I can't see what I'm doing. So,
wow.
I mean, it was just like all these things pretty much just set. Okay, how do I get around this? How do I adapt to this? So.
And most people would have quit, but you kept on pushing.
I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, this is not happening. No, like, I don't take no for an answer.
So did you have anyone that was sort of coordinating your interactions with any of these providers? Because it sounds like you've seen a lot of
no,
physicians.
and they don't coordinate, and they could literally be in the same healthcare system across the hallway from each other and still not coordinate. Like the day that I got diagnosed for this, I had saw my general doctor and then the ENT, which were the next floor up or the next suite up, and she took my blood to have it all checked out because symptoms said that might be this type of cancer causing it. So she did what she did, and then the ENT did what they did, and they didn't communicate. So after I'm already like devastated to get this cancer diagnosis, I'm just like trying to breathe. Let me go down, get this checkup out of the way, and get out of here. And she was like, "Well, look, great news." She was like, "No cancer to be found." I was like, man, I couldn't even speak. I was like, you just charge me right now before I choke you. Like I just got diagnosed with like stage 3 or 4 thyroid cancer like 10 minutes ago. You're telling me I'm fine?
So she didn't have the biopsy?
Paused, and she was like, well, who told you that? I was like, oh, get me out of here. Get me out of here. Get me out of here. And then I was just too mad about it because I was like, I've been listening to you people for years, and now I have something that might actually kill me. If you had done your job or like just further investigated something rather than just trying to hurry up and assembly line people through here, maybe I wouldn't be in the position I'm at.
So actually, I had a very interesting question for you. If you could design your healthcare, like forget what's already there, if it's your world and you're designing your own healthcare, what do you wish happened? What do you wish they told you? What do you wish, what would be the system that you would have created so that you didn't deal with as much of the frustrations? I mean, there's only so much that a human can control, but, I think that people know what they wish that they would have gotten.
Yeah, I think there needs to be better advocacy with, patient and physician communication, because my oncologist and we do not get along. And she's always for pushing for more radiation, and, my endocrinologist was like, that is not safe for you. What is she talking about? And like, I've had all these different doctors put their input in that I've actually like listened to them argue with each other. And I'm just like, this is the most unprofessional thing. And the one doctor was just dropping F-bombs. He's like, you need your license pulled. And I was like, can someone tell me what's going on? He was like, we're about to admit you. He was like, you're actually an organ failure. This is what's causing all these other problems. I was like, how many times is everybody else going to try to kill me? So like there needs to be better advocacy. So it's like if you're not getting along with your doctor or whatever they're recommending isn't working for you, somebody else needs to step in and take a look at it, because you're either ignoring your patient. Not everybody knows everything. There's things that are obviously overlooked in my case several times. So
I think we spoke about this before on this program, in that, unfortunately, and this is sort of the state that we live in, unfortunately, where we do have to be, to a certain extent, our own advocates. It is great to have maybe a healthcare provider that is going to step in. And this is why I asked you, sort of what was going on, who is coordinating this for you.
No, just me.
Because,
I'm usually arguing with people and screaming.
And that's the thing. It's very unfortunate. Unfortunately, we do lack in this country to a significant degree, there's a lack of primary care providers. There is a lack of individuals that can really sit and communicate right with you, but also with the other individuals that are taking care of you. Whether they're specialists, right? So in the otolaryngologist or the ENT specialist, the neurologist, really just everybody sort of getting together and having a conversation about what has to happen going forward. And this is something that we encounter every day in the emergency department, where I'm talking with numerous specialists, the primary care physician for a patient. And even in this day and age, with all of the technology that we have, it is challenging. Like, there's no question. But one thing that has been helpful, right, is the patient that comes in and sort of has all of these records sort of there with them. And I've had patients that have had binders, with things. They have a section for laboratory tests. They have a section for imaging results. They have a section with their medication histories, their allergies. And then this is me, right, as the emergency provider who really hasn't seen this person ever coming in, where I can get this information instantaneously, the contact for their doctors, and then if I need to, have a conversation with their physicians or anybody else that's taking care of them, specialists, to say, hey, this is what's going on. This is what I'm thinking, and what should we do next, right, in order to get the best outcome. And it doesn't happen every day, but that's one thing that we can do. And it seems like you've been doing it for sure. Yeah,
that's actually
hard,
funny.
I'm
about to give you their phone number, and just to get your opinion on this, because for the last, actually since I've been in Pinnacle Health, they're now the UPMC, I believe. But anyway, ever since I've been arguing with that physician there, they've been incredibly shady about releasing any medical records pertaining to my care there. I've tried to transfer back to Hershey, sign release after release after release, and that's what actually more so got the cameras banned, because they wouldn't release the records, and they kept coming back with excuses that they had never received a signed release, and then it was a third party that was managing the records, and we had to send it there, and we had to. Kept becoming all these loopholes. I was like, why is this a problem? And I brought the videotape in. I was like, here's me physically signing these releases 6 times.
That's right. Yeah.
You can't videotape me. I was like, well, where's these releases that I signed? You didn't sign those here. I was like, you're the one that took them. I'm showing you video footage of this. I'm going to put this on the internet. That's literally how that interaction with that doctor that doctor's office had become. And when I tried to transfer out to go back to Hershey's physicians there were like, don't worry, we'll get these records. And I was like, no, you don't understand. They've been withholding them for a very long time.
From you, the patient.
From me, they will
right
not give them to me. That's illegal. They can't do that. I'm aware it's illegal, but like they're still doing it, and I can't. What am I supposed to do to get them except sue them, which costs money and so on and so forth. And they were like, we'll get these for them. And next thing you know, all my follow-ups are getting rescheduled. Biopsies are getting rescheduled because they really want the pathology and everything that's going on from the initial doctor who won't release my records. So they're like, we will have to do all these tests all over again. You'll have to have a new biopsy. And I was like, that was painful. I started bleeding everywhere. And the doctor stopped it. And he was like, this is ridiculous. He was like, I'm not going to keep putting you through this just because somebody doesn't want to send a fax. And I was like, well, there's nothing we can do. We have to do it over. So I had to go through it all over again.
This is really frustrating.
That's like understatement. Frustrating is an understatement at this point.
To me, I mean, it just seems like the system is not working, because you're not the first person to come here and tell us this. I've had 2 of my very close friends, one of which is actually one of our filmers as well, for the film company I'm involved in. And she's dealing with cyclical Cushing's, which is a very rare disease. And I have another friend who's dealing with autoimmune diseases, rheumatoid arthritis, as well as a couple of other connective tissue disease that might be related. And they all had that same story. No one is transferring the same diagnostic tests that they're taking in one place to the other. No one wants to interpret the...
Is that to try to trap you within their healthcare system so they can bill your insurance? Like, what's the motive behind, like, not giving a cancer patient the medical record so they can try not to die? You know, like, what's the purpose of that?
I don't know.
Well, unfortunately, these are symptoms, and I can't say what their motivation is with that particular provider.
It's very uncomfortable when I go in there. The entire office will get quiet and shh, 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 shh. They do this when I come in. It's kind of funny now, but
that sounds very shady. But exactly. I can tell you, from experience, even as a medical provider, obtaining the records that I need to take care of patients, right? And a lot of times we're talking to patients that are acutely ill, so something has happened, kind of an emergent situation, and I'm trying to get information from other hospitals, and I encounter the same sort of red tape, right? Authorization releases, we have to fax them over. If our electronic medical records don't really align and that stuff, I'm blind to that information. I can't really see it. And so it can be extremely difficult, even for me as a healthcare provider, right? A physician that's calling from the emergency department, requesting information. And really, this is unfortunately where we are in the 21st century, where you can have a credit decision in 30 seconds. Right, people can sort of know every purchase you've made in the last 3 or 4 months. Where, unfortunately, we can't get vital medical records to get the care that we need. And so this is, unfortunately, this is
a hostage situation.
There are a lot of individuals, a lot of people with interests where they make a lot of money off of our system, the way it's currently designed. And I'm talking about not just individuals, but we're talking institutions, right? We're talking corporations. And, it really is just not designed not only for the basic needs of individuals as far as routine medical care, but the more complex your situation becomes, which you have a very complex case. Our colleague, right, our friend that was on just a few weeks ago with cyclical Cushing's, very, very complex case. And the more complex care that you need, the harder it becomes the way that our system is structured. It's unfortunate. But the solution, the solution really is, fortunately, one, trying to find an established medical home, right, where we can sort of have all of these resources in one system, where we can have the various specialists that you need in one healthcare system. This way they can communicate amongst each other. Usually they'll have the same electronic medical record system that they're using. This way that information is transferred at least more seamlessly. And it's the ideal, but it's hard though. It's very hard to find a system like that. And really, from a larger perspective, right, when we talk about making the changes that we want to see. So if my dream healthcare system would be exactly the one that we're kind of talking about or alluding to.
It's like a VIN number on a car. When you run that report, you find out how many accidents.
Oh, you found out everything. Yeah.
You find out. So why is
it can be done.
It can be done. It's just there's a money motive somewhere.
There's a money motive. There are political motives. And really what it comes down to is, there are a number of individuals. There's a whole movement behind this really to get a universal healthcare system, to get a system where we have universal medical records.
Yeah.
And really it's going to be putting your dollar and your vote right where your mouth is.
Yeah,
ultimately.
I also don't think that, based on how much you're willing to spend, that, like I noticed when I went from regular corporate company insurance to having to go on to like Medicare, whatever, the quality and care just dive bombed.
Wow.
Then it was like, oh, we're just going to keep cutting you open and put a Band-Aid on it. It's like I would literally leave and there would be like stitches poking out of my neck, like things would start poking out of me, and I'm like, there's a staple, can we get this? It's like, I feel like Frankenstein. At that point it just became kind of a joke, so I just made fun of everything.
Wow. And that cynicism it's not just you, right? It's even myself, other providers. We see sort of the same symptoms, the same broken system that is in the richest country, right, most advanced country in the history of the world,
It's the shadiest.
people can't get. It is the shadiest, and that's really the biggest thing. You know, as far as the
A lot of other countries have more pride in their integrity than Americans do. Like, I mean, we can get into that, but it's like we stole the country to begin with, so
But-
nobody has any pride in it.
we have an upcoming election, ladies and gentlemen. This is
Yeah.
your chance to really just look at, you know, sort of what's going on around us and find a way in which we can
Who you
respond to
guys
this.
like-
As
who
a
you guys
whole,
endorsing?
it is going to be, you know, making the right decision as far as who we put into office
I like Andrew
in
Yang.
2020.
I like Andrew Yang.
I'm with you on that. And
Yeah, yeah.
we can't get it.
I was about to say, we
He's
can't talk about
interesting.
that.
He's interesting. We
I
can
don't
get there.
think- I
That's
don't
a
think he's
whole
gonna
different
win.
show.
I don't think he's gonna win, but like I think his ideas will work, and it's frustrating to watch the one guy in the room that's got the solution that'll fix most of it. And
Well,
nobody
that
wants
has
to listen
good
to him.
ideas, at least to entertain those
Yeah,
ideas
like, he's
and
got a
say,
lot of
hey,
good
let's have a
ideas.
discussion about this. Because as we know, the status quo is not working, especially when we talk about healthcare in this country. You know, that's really what it's going to come down to,
Yeah,
is
it's
just
like
being
we
our
have
own
a
advocates.
president that thinks it's okay. It's like, okay, we're going to give you guys artistic license to just use your religious excuse. It's like, listen, if there's a trans person in jeopardy, you can say I'm too Christian for that and let him die. Like what?
Yeah, it's crazy.
What? No.
But that's gonna be that's the you know that's where what it's gonna come down to as far as making the biggest difference, and making changes right at the largest level where everybody can be sort of served to the best of their ability.
Yeah, I mean, if you need a
We-
specialist, you need a specialist. You don't need the cheap specialist.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
you don't need the generic one. You just get the guy that's got the track record.
Caller,
Right,
are you
right.
on the line? We have a caller.
Yeah, we do.
Hello, caller, are you there?
Yes.
Hello? Hey, how you doing?
All right. Good evening to all. I want to say to the young man that I just had a family member less than 2 months ago to go through. I don't even want to make it on the same basis, but he was in California and I was in New York, and I kept trying to instruct him to get an advocate.
Mm-hmm.
But the information that you have just shared, I was living that for about the last 2 years
Wow.
before he passed.
Wow.
Wow.
And he was an ex-veteran. I mean, this is horrifying.
Wow.
That's what it amounts
We're-
to.
We're so
Without
sorry
an
to hear that.
advocate,
Yeah.
I learned that you can't really negotiate with the doctors.
No, but they do tend to be a little more intimidated when people do have advocates. Like when somebody is calling on a patient's behalf, wanting to know why are they suffering from these extra side effects? Why did you not inform us? Like whenever there seems to be outside pressure, I feel like people are a little more inclined to toe the line because they know somebody else is watching them, so they don't want to make any kind of
Absolutely.
costly errors.
It's like the
So-
body cams for police officers.
Yep,
It's the same
yep.
Right.
same
But-
concept.
But I would just interject, even with the advocate, I stayed on the computer almost day and night researching. And it kept taking me back to the same thing. You're continually researching about what they have just proclaimed and the diagnosis that they rendered.
Right, because the information isn't being shared in a way that's digestible. We totally feel you on that.
Profitable.
Yeah, I mean,
Profitable.
One
Yeah.
thing.
But my love goes out, and I'm, because I know
Thank
the
you, brother.
program is almost over. My
amen.
love
Thank
goes
you.
out,
Thank you.
and like I'm going to say to you that I am reliving your life. I am reliving your life through your story.
Appreciate that. I mean, I
Thank-
don't know if that's a good thing. No, I don't want to wish that on anybody, but
Wow.
you know what I mean.
But thank you
It's
so much
related.
for
Thanks
calling
for being
in.
relatable.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Good
Bye
night.
bye. Take
All
care.
right. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, if anyone else has any questions that they'd like to ask Shawn on air, you could call in to the studio at 212-650-6903. That includes the entire YouTube fan base that is currently watching this
I didn't even know
live
that.
stream from Shawn's YouTube. So if you have any questions for the creator, want to know a little bit more about what she's been through.
Yes.
And how she's been able to kind of transform that story into a triumph story rather than being debilitated by it. Because I know people who are just as strong, just as resourceful as Shawn has been. And, when something like this comes around, it's very hard to be able to recover and regain hope and being able to move forward when you know that at any moment you have to deal with these struggles again. But I really admire your passion and the way that you're able to, again, overcome all of these obstacles.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I think it's just more me being just a bad little kid that doesn't want to take the answer that they don't want to hear. It's like, no, there's gonna, how like a kid will plead and they will just find a way. What if I do it this way?
Yeah.
And it's you still get a no answer. I will find a way around it or wear you down until you give me what I want. And it just carried on over and everything. And so it's like, oh, you're gonna be off your feet for a couple. Oh no, I'm not.
And we got another caller.
We sort of we're hopefully transitioning from what we call a paternalistic model of medicine, right? And that was the sort of old days where you listened to your doctor and the doctor, what they said was, in stone, and that was it. There were no questions asked. You did not have a voice as a patient. But now, and I can testify to this, there are providers out there, right, that this is what we do. And really what it's about is taking care of people and working as partners. This is a mutual relationship. And with my patients, I always tell them, we're a team, and you as the patient, you're the captain of the team. I'm going to give you the information that I would hope will help you make decisions regarding your care, right? And it's not easy. There will be times where we disagree and we need to come to a consensus, right? But that's really what we need to transition to. And fortunately, and this is something that was incorporated in my training at SUNY Downstate College of Medicine, something that we are aware of, right, as a systemic problem in our country in healthcare. But that's going to be the key going forward, or at least one of the keys. We have one more caller for the evening. Are you there, caller? Tell us your name, where you're from. Caller, are you there?
Uh-oh.
Okay, it's all right. Thanks for calling in anyway, though. But yeah, that's the thing. And, as you said, you're the captain of the team, and part of that is being your own advocate and also finding that individual that's going to partner with you best. Yeah. And, here in New York, I'm glad you came to New York because we have doctors a dime a dozen, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in some of the other areas of our country, there are shortages. But when you can, if you're not satisfied with the care you're receiving from an individual, maybe they didn't answer all your questions, they're being shady with your medical records, you got to dip. You got to get out of there.
They didn't tell me about a lot of side effects, and they didn't even answer a lot of questions that I had. Like when I had to stop taking my Synthroid for radiation, no one ever told me in 2 weeks, like, you're going to, start having some serious problems and you can wind up in a coma. Nobody told me that.
Hypothyroidism
and then they had rescheduled my appointment, and then they moved offices. So here I am a month later, I'm swelling up like crazy, and
wow,
that's the incident I told you with the
That's right, with the thoracic duct.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shawn. You had another one more thing?
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So a couple of weeks ago, you put up a story about on Instagram about your experience with the cancer and kind of notifying people who are friends and family of people who are going through it about what is appropriate to say and what isn't, what you wish that people understood. And I really like to always bring this up because I think we're very insensitive as a culture, and we have this toxic positivity.
Yes.
Where we're trying to like wish away things.
Yes, and that does not always help the situation.
Right.
So sometimes you just got to sit there and shut up and let somebody vent, or just sit there and be quiet with them, or just even, hey man, do you need me to help you finish the laundry?
Right.
Let me handle this. You need any errands run? I'll go to the grocery store. Simple things I want you to eat these peach pits, so I sent you 30 pounds of them, and here they're really poisonous or whatever. It's like
The healers,
can
yeah.
you please stop reading these things on Facebook and shoving them down my throat every time
Yeah.
you find them?
Yeah.
There's always somebody in a teepee that found the cure for cancer, but the government is silencing them. I've seen the article. Stop. So, and when you have 5,000 people doing that on a regular basis because, you know, you have a bunch of friends on social
Yeah.
media that are
Yeah.
just trying to be helpful, it's like, hey, man, just ask your friends what they need.
Right.
Because then nobody wants to be
Wow.
the jerk that's mad at you for being helpful because, you know, you're just kind of adding to a stressful situation. So take a breather, give people space, and offer to
Amen.
help out with
That's
chores,
huge.
I would say would be the biggest thing.
And what's one last thing that you would want your own audience and ours to kind of take away from this? I know it's a lot to kind of try and compound into one singular statement, but is there anything that you want people to be able to share with their family and friends after watching this?
Don't take no for an answer. If you don't like that as the answer, I don't know.
Amen. Amen. I mean, I feel like that's your life motto. That's your MO.
I mean,
So,
that's like, no.
Don't take no for an answer. I like
amen.
that.
Amen.
I'd live by that. That sounds like a plan. All right. We want to thank you very much,
Yeah, appreciate
Shawn,
it.
for
Thanks
joining
having
us,
me.
and congratulations on what you're doing. We're just going to keep following you if you don't mind.
No, keep it up. I'll
Yeah,
come
keep
hang
leading the
out.
way.
I'm keeping her close. Don't worry.
That's what's up. Yes. Yes, indeed. And also, we want to thank our callers for calling in, leading us into new directions in the conversation. Always
appreciate
appreciated. And ladies and gentlemen, we just ask that, you know, whatever you learned on tonight's program, you know, share it with anybody that will listen, especially what we talked about regarding, right, that massive change that we need, putting your vote where your mouth is, because we all recognize this is not a unique problem. I think we've talked about this before, and I'm pretty sure that we have millions of Americans that are in agreement that we need something to change. And this is the time to change it in 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, this show is dedicated to the memory of Miss Gloria Thomas. Harlem, take care of yourself.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
If you know the symptoms and get the facts, you'll know the signs of a heart attack. Women, listen to me, and when I'm done, if it sounds familiar, call 911.
Pain in your neck, chest,
Arms or jaw,
shortness of breath.
please tell us more. Cold sweats and nausea, tiredness,
It's time to take it
serious. Back pain, stomach pain, shortness of breath, cold sweats, nausea, dizziness. If you know the symptoms and heed the signs, you'll be around for a long, long time. Women, listen to me, and when I'm done, if any sound familiar, call 911.